Almost Famous Enough is a proud sponsor of Music Day in Canada. Music Day in Canada is a national campaign and celebration created by the Lemon Foundation to spotlight the people, places, and communities that power Canadian music. Through live events, artist showcases, community partnerships, and digital storytelling, the campaign uplifts Canadian talent and supports the sustainability of local music ecosystems. The campaign is open to everyone, from venues and artists to brands and fans, with each region contributing its own voice to the national story. Check out musicdayincanada.com or look for the link in our podcast notes of each episode.
One of my greatest curiosities of late has been the story and human narratives driven by story on a deeper developmental psychology kind of brain kink, but also in a generative culture kind of level. I'm interested in where the story really is, or more so, who is the storyteller, the story excavator, who is responsible for exposing and presenting the story, and how much of a role the intention and bias and perspective of that person plays in shaping the stories we come to know and believe in. Consider how powerful the editor is in the history of journalism. The writer chases what they believe the story is, the angle of unique interest for their audience, and use their personal art of fashioning the words, but the final outcome of that story was always filtered through an editor. Who really held the power of influence on the culture of journalism? I've been fascinated in sharing stories of people who chase the dream, seeking similarities, nuances, the fine print that has slipped between the editorial cracks that might impact me and you in ways we weren't expecting. Recent guest Mike Noble of Hotel Mira recommended to me to interview Kevvy of Fake Shark and connected us in a gesture of knowing better than I would have guessed. The story of Kevvy seems to have escaped the editorial clutches if you read the story of Fake Shark. And this is the core of Almost Famous Enough. I peel off the layer of what I think I know from hearing their songs, and in conversation, I am forced to peel off the layer of my researched editorial and, to a degree, self-curated information. In doing so, I begin to see a bigger story of someone who shares the experience of a relatively small human population who have worked with pop stars owning the biggest known hits while also scrounging for crumbs at a party to survive, turning small skills and open hearts into essential relationships and opportunistic performances, and into careers. The sum of the articles is ironically completely uncurated. Kevvy is the founder of Fake Shark, a Vancouver-based alternative pop rock act, and producer, songwriter to a list of past and present artists making their mark on the music scene. Fake Shark's biggest hit was Loser in 2021, and current release Monster has been present on alt-rock charts all summer, while Kevvy finds his name in the credits on another 4 top 10 alt-rock hits at the same time. The summer of Kevvy couldn't be more well-deserved. My name is Glen Erickson. This is Almost Famous Enough. Thanks for spending your time with us. This is Kevvy of Fake Shark. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, part of the disappointment last time, Kevvy, was like, I really liked how the conversation had gotten started. We were a good 12, 13 minutes into talking, and we hadn't even like hardcore talked business yet, just catching up on trading stories about gigs in Canmore and all kinds of things, which was really fun. So I was like, obviously I'm disappointed. That's the stuff I like to get going and get talking about. But anyhow, like all to say, I knew it was going to be a good conversation with you. I'm like, oh, damn it. Yeah. But I know I'm happy that we get this chance again. So since we talked last, which was the end of July, now we're kind of facing the end of August. Might as well catch up. What's happened in the last month? Has it been stay at home, doing that kind of work stuff? Or has there been summertime shows kind of running?
I think where we left off was my band had just done a long US tour. And now we're doing a show every other month in Seattle, which I really like. We had just done this Calgary Stampede with Mariana's Trench,
Yeah.
and that was awesome. Their fans are amazing. We're lucky to get to play in front of them. And then
Can you explain every other month? What is it's like a standing gig?
Yeah. There's a place called the Central Saloon that have asked us to play there, like a bunch of dates throughout the year.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun way to go work on new stuff with a really cool crowd and venue. And we've played so much Canada in the past, and we still love to, but we're doing more stuff in America, and we have an American agent, and it's an easy gig that's not in our hometown, and it's just kind of a nice, fun way to like try new versions of the set. Like we've been doing a version of this same set list for about a year now, so we wanted to try working in the new songs, but not in our hometown, and they're like cool enough to like stick us on a bunch of bills and build a little audience out there. There's KEXP out there, which is a wicked radio station that supports indie rock.
My favorite, in fact.
Yeah. So my shout out to Abby from KEXP. She's awesome. She came to our last one. And like a lot of our friends just go play there a lot. Like the Vancouver band Actors go there a lot. And Frankie and all these, it's kind of just a cool scene. And they do a lot of cool festivals. This guy out there, Michael, who he's been cool enough to like help us get our work visa and everything. He puts on all kinds of festivals. And so, yeah, we're just kind of focusing on that and like making Seattle our home away from home. And it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, if there's ever a great city in the States to try to make your home away from home, that's, I mean, there's a number of them, but that's top of the list. It's nice to have that within a day's drive for sure. You said KXP, ironically. So I started taking some bigger swings at some guests I would love to talk to. And John in the Morning has been a hero of mine for like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So I actually DM'd him on Instagram and he actually responded.
That's cool.
Send him an email. So I'm yet to get a response from the email, but hopes and dreams, right? Maybe I'll get to talk to somebody that was a big part of influences on me like 20 years ago.
That's so cool.
So you're always busy. I mean, I like to go back. You've got like, you're a certified Canadian music industry veteran. Like you started this band 20 years ago.
Oh, that's a misconception.
Is Wikipedia wrong?
Always. Fake Shark Real Zombie ended in like 2013, and then I started a new band with different people and like different sound. And then they were like, let's just call it Fake Shark. And I kind of wish I didn't because this keeps happening.
Yeah.
So it's different. It started the first Fake Shark song came out in 2015. So 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. The other one was like a hardcore
I love that.
band.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I remember. Okay, I'm gonna put a pin on that and circle back. And I love that you corrected that. So, but where I was going at first, definitely music industry veteran, having been done this so long, still doing it, making the music, obviously doing the entire music making, performing career. But obviously, you've got your hands in a lot of other things, and this is pretty common in the business. I think when people hang around, that they develop skills and realize where they might fit in. So this actually ties into where we actually left off in our first attempt when everything went to shit. Was you kind of just dropped in there on me that you actually sort of side hustle doing audio production for comedians and comedy specials, and you drop the name Nate Bargatze, who's a fantastic comedian, one of these guys who obviously has been doing it for a long time, and then somehow just that, how careers can go as in the arts, like all of a sudden he's blowing up at this stage after doing it for so long. Very cool guy and very cool. So why don't we just jump right in there that you have this side hustle. Curious again how you got the side hustle, and I'm always sort of interested about just talking about what the life in music really looks like. And I think there's the cliche when you're first starting out, how many people still have their day job or working at Starbucks, or every time they get off the road they go back and work at the bar or some version of that. But it evolves when you've been doing it for 20 years. So I'm curious sort of what your side hustle to keep the bills paid, blah, 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 looks like in your life?
Well, it's interesting because I don't really need to do comedy because I was able to quit my last day job in 2012, which was HMV. And it's because I started writing music and producing music and like and one of the artists that I worked with was Carly Rae Jepsen, and then she blew up, and then I was able to just get production gigs since then in music to be able to like make a living. So that it was like her and there was a person, a great artist named Louise Burns, who suggested to my now manager Jonathan Simpkin, like you should hire this guy. He's like working really hard and writing with everybody. And then Carly also was like my oddly enough Fake Shark Grill Zombie, my like heavy band. So they both told Jonathan about me, and so he signed me first as a producer for 604 Records. And then, and that was, I got like it's funny, it seemed like all the money in the world to me at the time. It was like a check for like $3,000 or something for like producing some music, some Carly
Yeah,
Rae
that would
Jepsen
feel
music.
like a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the most money I've ever had in my life. And I just quit HMV. And I was like, I have been surviving on floors and everything for years, totally uncomfortable. I can stretch this out for like months. So I just quit. Yeah.
That's so good, Kevvy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining, I'm hoping everybody else is picturing what I'm picturing,
Mhm.
which is kind of a little Hollywood cliche of like, you got your first $3,000 in the actual business
Oh
and
my
you
God.
walked in and said like, screw you, I'm out of here. And
Okay. So kind of. Here's what's funny about it. I could like, dude, like I was so destitute that I would go over to people's places. I'd go in their kitchen and they'd have like made brownies and eaten like all of them are just crumbs. I would secretly eat the crumbs. Like I was so broke and like doing music all the time and doing these international
wow.
tours. So broke. Like Big Shark Grill Zombie did a tour once that was over a month long in the UK, and we were just borrowing backline everywhere and taking the Greyhound everywhere. And I got pneumonia. Like I got so sick, and there was
Oof.
like people were smoking all the time, and like we were staying on people's floors, and they just wanted to party all the time. And I like thought I was gonna die. And then it was crazy because Fake Shark Girl Zombie just got signed in Japan. So the week we got back from that crazy long tour where I was like so sick, we then got on like a first class flight to Japan and got treated like so well, but I still had like no voice kind of. And yeah, I was just like, we played like 2 weeks of shows there and then came back, and I was like, if you see photos of me from back then, I was like a skeleton. It was bad. But anyway, so I was used to being broke. I kind of didn't care. Like, so some money would have been nice just so I could not be so stressed about rent all the time and everything. Just ended a relationship and she moved out, and we were living with a roommate, another roommate, and I like stayed. And that guy, it was like cool enough to like let me pay like less than normal rent. And it's because he had a band in the 80s called Strange Advance. Shout out Drew. And he was like, hey man, I get it, but you can pay less rent if you like help me with some of the music I'm working on stuff. And so I didn't even end up doing it that much. He was just like, cool. He's so awesome. And then so I got that first check, went in to HMV, and I gave my 2 weeks notice. And the manager at the time was like basically told me I'm fucking up. He was like, okay, well, this job will be here when I wanted to be in a band too. And it's not easy, and like
Oh,
but
man.
I was in such a good mood that I was like, whatever, like, so I left, and then I was on like cloud nine for like months. I was like, I can't believe I get to do this at this cool studio. And then Carly and I were like making all this music, and then she made Call Me Maybe, and like blew up. And ever since then I've been like able to do music production and co-writes and stuff like pretty consistently. But what happened was I made friends with some comedians. I was actually producing music for a singer named Kate Morgan, and she was dating a comedian. And I just like went to a few shows, and I became friends with this comedian named Ivan Decker. And then I think like the second album I ever did was Ivan Decker's first album, which won the Juno for Comedy Album of the Year. And that hadn't been a category since the 70s. In fact, the last time it was a category, the winner was the Strange Brew soundtrack. So
Which ironically, I just saw a George Stroumboulopoulos post like 2 days ago where he said people always ask him what the greatest Canadian record was, and he actually pulled that record.
He's not wrong.
So that's funny.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Did that one, and then it led to doing this comedian Sophie Buttle, and then that won a Juno, and then Jacob Samuel, which won a Juno, and then Andrea Jin, which won a Juno. So I have 4 comedy Junos for that, and then the owner of 604 Records around that time was like, why don't you just start your own division of the label that's just comedy? And so I did, which is Comedy Here Often, which I'm the GM of, and I produce all the specials and albums for it. But alongside that, when I would be recording these other people, I would inevitably meet like American comics, and one of them was this amazing comedian who I think is the best comedian in the world. His name's Dan Soder, and then he's from New York, like that's where he lives. And we just kept in touch. And then when it came time for him to do his special, he had me come produce audio and do the music for it. And that was done at a place called Helium in Portland. Awesome venue. And the director of the special was a guy named Mike Lavin, who goes by Homeless Pimp on Instagram. And he got asked to do all of Nate Bargatze's specials for his new YouTube channel. So we hit it off, and great working relationship on Dan Soder special. So now I do everything that Homeless Pimp does. So that's how that happened. And
that's amazing.
Last year I did 2 Colin Quinn specials with him. I love Colin Quinn. A Jim Norton special. I did some stuff for this comedian TJ Miller, which was unrelated to that. And then, yeah, it's kind of like never ending. Like if I'm not careful, I could just do comedy like always. And no one can name a comedy producer. So it's kind of
100%. That's why I'm so curious. Like it's
yeah.
You almost take it for granted. You almost stop to think like they're still doing a production and a live production at that, which is a very unique way. I'm sure you maybe are doing things that aren't, I don't know, maybe is it all live comedy special productions? Yeah.
But that's what makes it difficult, because it's like get it in the 2 to 4 shows that are taped, then it's a lot of work for me to make it feel like seamless. Like if you're editing between a bunch of shows, and then like a lot of people like you know how if you go to a show at the Biltmore or something, the live sound person there is excellent. Like they've been doing it for years. They understand outboard equipment. They know miking techniques. That is not the case at stand-up comedy venues. It's just it's the person who just learned how to turn on the Behringer mixer and push the fader up. And then, so a lot of times I'll go there and it's just like such a mess. And like, and also everybody fancies themselves like an audiophile. And then like I was doing an album at this place called Little Mountain Gallery, which was in a different spot then than it is now. And between the 2 shows, a friend of mine who's like tinkers in audio was like, yeah, I thought it was a little boomy sounding in here. So I went and changed all the EQ on the vocal mic. And I was like, now the fucking 2 shows aren't going to sound consistent. Like things like that. Like people don't really know. And then, you know, there's people I know who they just care about the video. And then like this nice looking video with like camera audio. And it's like, well, the best way that comedians can make money is by getting played on Sirius XM, and now they have really high standards, so they're just not going to play your album. So you just have this like thing on YouTube that you could be making a living from, but because no one really understands the audio side of it, it could have been on the radio is what I'm saying, and it's not.
And comedians, I mean, if I'm remembering this correctly, even experienced ones don't always show. Like a lot of, like the experience doesn't always show in mic technique. Like I've seen ones in their shows that forget that they're wearing a lapel version of a thing, and then they're slapping their chest while they do some comedy
Oh
bit,
my God.
or they think it's funny to just have the loose wrist with the microphone.
Don't
And
get me started on lav mics. Lav mics are useless. And it's like, first of all, it's not directional enough to be just picking up here. It's picking up the
yeah,
crowd too. So it's just kind of useless. Like at least an SM57 is like cardioid, so it's at least just picking up this way. So like one of my favorite comedians named Anthony Jeselnik, but he holds the microphone like way down here. Like that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
a hard mix. I just did this awesome comedian Mike Vecchione, but he performed his specials, 2 shows in Nashville at a place called Zanies, and it has a tin roof. And so for one of the shows, it rained really
Wow.
hard, and the other show it didn't. So the microphone is just picking up the rain. Like oh my God, it's there's so much more to it than people know, and like
I
even
know, right?
comics. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was
I've
just
noticed lately, it feels like most of the time their microphones are wired too. So they end up having these 50 or 60-foot long
oh yeah.
cords. And I'm like, nobody trusts wireless, I guess, for these
Yeah,
shows. But
I just did some stuff for a comedian named Mark Normand who's really funny, and he the like it was at the Vogue, and the XLR kept cutting out on his mic of all the like like
oh,
it's amazing how it's good sound people there, really good, but it's amazing how it's this one simple show they have a week where they literally their equipment is one microphone and one cable, and they just happened to pick the cable that was like cutting out, like so.
oh, of course.
Yeah, it's tough. Wireless
Well,
mics are good, but I have done specials where someone put in what they thought were new batteries and they were old batteries, and it cuts out. And it's tough. I've actually I did a comedy taping with a lav once for Apple TV, and I literally had to have the comic come in and do ADR. Like it was just so bad.
wow.
Yeah, it's tough.
Um, yeah, that's quite a business. That's
Mm,
pretty interesting. Could probably
neat.
talk for a long time about all of that.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I love seeing when artists have obviously found a balance for you to keep going this long of, pursuing these things. By things, I mean, you talked about you quit the day job, which is HMV, which is funny because it's still a little bit music adjacent. And it still
yeah,
kind of fits that like a little Hollywood take scenario to have your boss being like, "Oh, I tried to take music once," as if that was like the logic to convince you to stay when he's actually saying, you know,
oh my
look how
God.
exciting my life is not, and this is what you're doomed to. Like that would be my reason to
Well,
move out faster. But
terrible employee. I was so bad. Like I got to, it was actually a great gig because I got to work in the jazz and classical department, which was its own room. And I would literally just post on Facebook, like, I'm going to be in jazz and classical. Come hang out. And like one of my bosses was like, see you in there. It's like, oh, I forgot we're
that's
friends
funny.
on here. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, so what I'm really get interested in is, and so you developed skills and being able to sort of like, let me frame it this way for you. Because they're not distinct, right? There's so
Yeah.
much overlap. Does it, do you get into ever a place where you just feel like you're literally 24/7 breathing this all the time? And does that ever, I mean, is that just a comfortable place for you to be in? Or does it ever, I think a lot of people would imagine their day job, they can't imagine if it was more than the 5 days a week, nine to
Yeah.
five. And instead, you and a lot of people I know in similar worlds are, yeah, on it all the time. How does that feel for you? And what do you do about that?
I get like so burnt out, and like you said, it's like
Yeah.
I could work all day every day. I mean, first of all, like my principal sort of skill set I think is music producer slash writer, and so I could be making songs for myself or other people all day long. Like, and I have a guilt complex about feeling like I should too. I hate when I feel like people are waiting for me for their thing. I'm also dealing with people's hopes and dreams, so there's like a lot of pressure to do things well. Um, but also I'm inspired all the time, and like I get inspired really easy. Like walking here, I was listening to the new Hayley Williams album. She's a singer of Paramore, and she released a solo album. And it's excellent. It's like trip hop. It's so good. And I was like, oh my God, there should be a Fion song like that. Fion is a band I work with. It's like, okay, well, I know what to do. And so I just get here and start like making the thing before they even hear it, and then, you know what I mean? Like I could like work all the time. I have ideas all the time. Even when I'm watching a movie, which isn't my job, I will be like, oh, I should write that down. That'd be cool. And then actually the next line would be cool so it kind of just never stops. And like I said, like if I'm not careful, I could just endlessly do stand-up comedy production and mixing and stuff like that. So what I do to like combat it is I've gotten so into NBA and WNBA basketball that it's just something I love that has nothing to do with anything else, and I'm like a fanatic about it. And like my poor girlfriend like knows everything about like my teams, and she's like cool to be like, oh, cool, yeah, that sounds great. Like yeah. So like
that's the role.
Poor her. But my like NBA and WNBA league pass, and like my favorite NBA team is called the Clippers, and I watched every game of them last season and their playoff run. So it's like 100 games or something. And then in the WNBA, it's the Indiana Fever, and I watch all their games like in their entirety. And it's like I put my phone down. I'm not looking at it. I get a drink and I just like watch the game in its entirety at night, and that's how I wind down and try and take my mind off things a little bit.
Well, I was going to ask do you have something that's completely different? Because that's what I often experience with people is they have to find something, like running into guys that the last people I'd expect that are gardening, and for some reason have like taken great joy in gardening. And it's not, I guess we just can joke because it's not very rock and roll, but it has to be not rock and roll because otherwise you're in it 24/7. You said Indiana Fever, so I have to assume that you probably feel the way I do. Beautiful. Caitlin, I was going to say your shirt, obsessed, for the listener only, wearing a Caitlin Clark shirt. So we're on the same page about the incredible level of bullshit and the entire industry dropping the ball with letting her be treated the way that she's being treated.
Injured 3 times in one season, in her second season, just like Michael Jordan. It's like mirroring his career. And when it's going so bad that he comes out of his like interview retirement to like stick up for her, that's a bad sign. And the WNBA should like, listen to him.
Well, it just feels crazy, and we don't have to go on it. That's a whole nother thing. But I love that you're passionate about it. I think that's great. I love that you're passionate about it. I think what's interesting to me is that I think so many people who at all levels of investment into it for their own enjoyment or more, all just really want the thing to succeed and be what it should be and what it deserves to be. And I think that's maybe what's so frustrating to a lot of people, right?
What's frustrating is like cheap shotted a lot by players who are benefiting from what she's brought to the league. So like it's just kind of like nearsighted seeming to me. Like
it just doesn't make sense. But yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, so you brought up a thing. One other thing that I was going to want to ask you, and you sort of like alluded to it, and it was kind of on my things to talk to you about, which is you sort of talked about inspiration, and that you find inspiration because you get to work with all these different people in production, and it actually part of the payoff for you in doing so much, spending so much time in that is getting inspired, which I'm always interested to talk to somebody who's been at it as long as you have, wearing a lot of different hats. You've seen a lot of different things. I've said this a lot of times on the podcast, but I always think it's remarkable. We all seem to have a similar story of how we got started because we wanted to be something that inspired us, right? Usually it was pretty specific, right? Like some version of,
absolutely,
you were a Kurt Cobain or a Trent Reznor or whoever was your North Star. And then something that you saw made you feel like, oh, like that's something I can actually do. Like I know I was listening to someone recently who Oh, I was listening to an audiobook with Jeff Tweedy of Wilco, and
Cool.
he said like it's the stupidest thing, but the first rock song I ever heard was Smoke on the Water, and that stupid, dumb, easiest in the world riff was still like the North Star because I could play it. And once I could figure
Yeah.
that out, I realized it was accessible. So I'm wondering two things, I guess, what was your early North Star into music that you were trying to emulate and got you into all of this? And then even if you can name some of the things that continue to inspire you, because you're still so
Yeah.
active in creating and performing.
I guess like it changed a lot. Like I go like all in on an artist for a few years. Like my high school photos were so funny because you could tell like what phase I was in, because I would just go like all in on like I was absolutely a teenage goth for a period of time, but before that I was a little hip hoppy, and then after that I was a little punk rock, and like you could just kind of see what I was going through. The band that made me want to start a band was Korn, and that they just hit me at the right time of being like someone who got bullied as a teenager for being eccentric, that was kind of into hip hop. So that band is those two things together, and I'd never heard it before. And then
Yeah.
I got like really into like from they were a gateway to a lot of bands that I love. One of them being Nine Inch Nails, and then when I discovered that Trent Reznor like played every instrument on his first album, then I wanted to go to audio school so I could do that. And then that's still kind of what I do. And then actually, I was lucky enough to get into working with a producer named Dave Ogilvy, who he's from Skinny Puppy, but he produced and mixed and engineered on a bunch of Nine Inch Nails records. So I was just kind of in awe when he would like let me tag along and like work with him. And he was really kind to me. He mentored me. He like let me like work on whatever he was working on, and he'd throw me money like when there was some. And then he produced my old band's second album, and he just was like generous with like letting me meet his friends, and so I got to like work on all kinds of cool stuff with him. And we did like a KMFDM remix, and like I couldn't believe I was even able to like hear the files. And then he had a band called Jackalope, and
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, like I like worked on their last album that they put out. And yeah, I was like I was such a fan. Like it's funny, I remember like one of the deals we did was like, okay, Kevvy, if you do a good job at the studio today, I'll play you the 4-track demos from Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar. And I was like, oh my God, really? And like, he let me like cut them up, the files, and email them to Trent Reznor. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I saw Trent Reznor's email address. And then like flash cuts to, I ended up playing in a band for this guy, Billy Howardell, who the band Perfect Circle is Maynard James Keenan and Billy Howardell. And Billy Howardell did a solo thing, and because of my connections to them, I got to play bass in that band. And the drummer was Josh Freeze, which is so cool. So I got to be in a rhythm section with him, who's now the drummer of Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, wow.
And Danny Lohner, who was like also been a great mentor to me, he was the guitar player in my favorite era of Nine Inch Nails. And he's been great with sort of showing me things. And so I definitely put in my 10,000 hours of like working under great people. And like, yeah. And I've been like pretty lucky to like work with a lot of my heroes. It's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, I never thought like a perfect circle. I'm like, oh yeah, he's like the Garfunkel of a perfect circle.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's nobody wants that moniker hung on them. But funny how those things go. Here's the cool thing, Kevvy, okay? And this is what I love, and what I hope that people who listen to podcasts love too, is like we get these introductions in music to artists, and they come in all different directions, right? I mean, some of the best ones are obviously the ones that got introduced to you by somebody or at a certain time that were very meaningful. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, you might only know a song by a band. Like for a long time, I knew your song Loser. It was being played on alt radio here a ton, and it was great. And my personal tastes aren't exactly what alt radio is here, but it has enough crossover that once in a while I'll hear something that I'll come home and I'll be like, okay, I actually want to go look that up for
Yeah,
myself.
that's
You know,
awesome.
and that was one of those tracks. And I guess what's interesting is you never know, and this is why I would love for people to dig in more if they even have a little interest. You just never know, like the extensiveness of your background and who you've, just uh, it's not like I go read a fake shark bio and it's full of all of your flexes that you produced early Carly Rae before she blew up, and that got to sit with this producer and and sort of touch the Nine Inch Nails lore and whatnot. Like, and I'm sure you have a whole bunch of more stories. And I just think that is one of the coolest things about the business,
Yeah.
is all the things that you don't see under the surface when somebody has made it their life, right?
Yeah.
That this is your full life, which kind of leads me to a question for you: is have maybe it's happened a lot of times, or maybe there's just some specific instances because you're still making music, you're still kind of jumping more or less, it's evolved, but into the album cycles and the music cycles or the touring cycles to some degree.
Yeah.
Which can, a lot of people get to the I'm too old for this shit kind of point, but you haven't.
Yeah.
Have you had the moments where it's like, how long do I keep like trying this stuff?
Sure.
When do I just, you've got all these great stories from your production life. Is it common for you to have that tension, or does it just creep in once in a while? How does that affect
Yeah.
you?
I mean, I was lucky enough to start doing it somewhat professionally as like a teenager. Like I started Fake Shark Girl Zombie with my high school friend. Like and right away we got international touring opportunities. So I feel like I got a head start on it in a lot of the ways that most people don't. And I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of people and see how their careers have gone, and have seen like the ebbs and flows of someone that I admire their career. And so of course it will be frustrating. And of course there will be like competitive moments where you're like, how did they get that thing? And why didn't I get it? Like, there's like a lot of that. And I'm not just in music, I'm in comedy as well. And so I will be like, oh, I wish I mixed that. I wish I mixed the new Tom Segura. I would have done such a good job. You know what I mean? And I was up for it or whatever. Like, so there's always going to be a version of that. But like I said, it's like, if you stick with it and you try to treat the people in your careers well, and really at the end of the day, for me, it's about like working with my friends. Like I actually think Adam Sandler is like the coolest career ever. It's like, if you think about it, like you could say you don't think his movies are funny or whatever, but it's always on a tropical island. The entire cast is always his friends, and there's always a basketball scene. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Oh, speaking of Adam Sandler, the last comedy special he put out, because you were talking about how hard it would be to mix all the
Yeah.
different shows, and that was like jumping around all of his tour dates. I
Yeah.
can't imagine the dude who had to put that together.
I think the mix would have been less challenging than the master on that one, because evening out all the various mixes from the variety of shows must have been such a challenge. And
And
especially
the
since
rooms,
there's
yeah.
musical
Wow.
elements too. But with a budget like that, like a lot of times when I do,
Yeah, yeah,
it, even when I did Mae Martin at the Vogue, which she's an amazing comic, I just brought
yeah.
one assistant, whereas on those things, there's probably like an audio team of like 10 people, which would be so fun to like not be stressed out because you're definitely covered. Like when I do audio tapings for comedy specials, I have like a backup running over here that's separate from the backup over here, and then a direct mic. Like there's just no way I can lose anything.
Yeah.
So having like 9 people to tell what to do would be really fun for me.
Very ideal. Well,
Yeah.
you mentioned that, I mean, you sort of said that, being able to continue to do this with your friends, which is a nod to Adam Sandler and his
Yeah.
career, but is a thing that keeps you going. I, I can't help but think, just as you were talking about that too, is that like there's so many reasons, right, to stop being a band. Like it's so
Yeah.
easy. Like
Yeah.
people, most of the time, for 99% of it, like people aren't clamoring for you to make another record or be a band. or asking you to. And there's
Yeah.
so many roadblocks in trying to do this stuff, even just trying to figure out the business, figure out how to write a grant and get it like through the system. Like then you can put in things like you've had to completely change bands halfway through your career. You hit a pandemic when you released what is kind of your in radio land or whatever, kind of your biggest single. Like that's big shit that makes it really easy to stop.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm wondering is I'm sure the friends thing is part of it. I'm just wondering what's the real drive for you? Do you feel like this is just like what you're doing in this world and you've been able to stick with it long enough to ride it out?
Yeah, I do feel like, first of all, we're lucky enough to have a fan base. It's not a huge fan base, but it's a mighty fan base, and they come to everything. And I feel like they are waiting for the next record, so I've been lucky that way.
That's
I
great.
also am on a record label where I work with a great team. My manager Amanda is like amazing, and she handles so many things and gets us such great opportunities, and it inspires me that I'll be like, hey, I kind of want to do this, and she's like, yeah, you should. And then what about this? And then this out, like it's like fun. It's like a project that I'm not just doing by myself. I have two great booking agents, one in Canada, one in America, and I love them as people, and that we're all on the same page for like what the goals are. We have a great sync license company in LA that got us like on a couple Apple commercials, stuff like that. So it's cool to me knowing, first of all, like for when I first started playing music, the idea of anyone hearing songs I made was like crazy, let alone having it in a big commercial where that like when I first started playing music, it was like, oh my God, like Feist got an Apple commercial. It's like, that's so cool. So to be in the same world as that artistically is like insane to me. I'm so lucky, I feel like. And then, on the other side of it, it's like, what the hell else am I going to do? What am I going to just, what, if I stopped doing music, what would I do? Just comedy production? Like, I can't not, like I said, like when I'm watching a movie, it's just giving me ideas. And when I'm listening to someone's music, it's just giving me ideas. Like I have ideas all the time. Like I heard this thing that kind of resonated to me, not to say I'm on the same level as this person artistically, but like Eminem, when he wakes up every morning, he says rhymes falling out of his face. Like, I don't think I've heard someone rhyme this thing with this thing in this context. So I gotta go lay it down. I don't really know what it is yet. Like he goes and then like within a few minutes he has like a song going. Like I love that. And like at times I've felt like that. And so for me, I love feeling that way. And like you've brought up Loser a few times. I wrote that song in about 15 minutes. Like it really did flow out of me. Not to say they all have to be that way, but when it does happen that way, it's like the greatest feeling. And then I love like, we just did an American tour and we played in all these cities we've never played in before. And people knew the words every city to that song. That's cool.
Wow.
That's so crazy. I had
that's
no idea.
Like top shelf feeling, right? As a performer, as an artist, like there's almost nothing. It's indescribable to somebody who hasn't been there, I think. Yeah. I mean, totally. You kind of alluded to something that which I love that you said it the way you said it, Kevvy, because more and more I'm hearing people adopt I guess I call it the expression or the advice to new artists or new people who are like wanting to do this or pursue it as a career, right? Which is only do this if you just can't do anything else. Like you can't see yourself doing anything else. And people have kind of hung their hat on that being the rhetoric. And I totally get that. And I see all the truth in it. I guess that it feels like there's some holes in that sometimes in reality, but then to hear you sort of just interject the same sentiment as part of what makes you keep doing it this far down the road just gives it so much more weight and so much more truth, I think.
There's definitely holes in that logic, and I don't always feel like that, but it's interesting. Like, for instance, I was such an awful student. I couldn't give a shit. I couldn't pay attention. Like, I can't do a good job at anything I don't love doing. Like which means
Exactly.
I'm good at like three things. Like,
That
you know
sounds
what I
like an
mean?
ADHD diagnosis
Sure.
there, Kevvy.
But it is also, like I said, I'm lucky enough to have a fan base. I want to do a good job. Like I would hate to make them feel like they wasted their time coming to see us or listen to us. And I'm sure if everyone says this, and what I'm about to say is like corny. I think I'm a better performer now than I've ever been, and a better songwriter now than I've ever been. And the fact that I feel like I could do a better song and a better performance is inspiring to me. Like I don't feel like I don't feel like, man, 2018 Kevvy, that was the best. Not gonna get, like, if I felt like that, I probably would feel like I want to do
Oh,
something else.
100%.
You know?
I don't think that's corny, Kevvy. I think that the only person that can be true for is you. Everyone else, it's just their opinion or perception,
Right.
based on a limited set of facts, but you've got everything, oh, you have all the information to tell you whether you believe that's true for yourself or not. So I think it's important.
Well, there's also like when I was playing in Billy Howardale's band, he would record every show and then we'd listen to it. And that was nerve wracking because he would be like, we're a little ahead of the beat there, Kevy. And I'd be like, yeah. But now I do that with Big Shark and I review it and I think of ways I can make it better. So I do think it is, every performance is better than the last. That's what's kind of cool about this like residency we're doing in Seattle is the same people will probably keep coming. So I want to bring something new every time. And it's a good way to experiment before we do our next long tour, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love your sentiment, by the way, about just wanting to do so good for those people that show you so much support.
Yeah.
I think anybody who loses that is in a problem state in this business.
Yeah.
But B, for those starting out, if you don't get that really early, you might be looking at a shorter career too. I think that that's definitely a piece of the potion for a
Yeah.
career. I think that's really cool.
Thanks,
I
dude.
was gonna say, like, you kind of also alluded in there to all these different people that you've been able to work with. I mean, we're just getting to know each other right now,
Yeah.
and you're a cool guy.
Likewise, man.
I'm
Thanks for having me.
assuming, I'm assuming there's a lot more to you that way, and what you've learned about continue to be a cool guy to keep those relationships in this business. Like, you don't get in the doors with people. Like, you can have been somebody who did production with Carly Rae and then she blows up, but that might get you some gigs for a little
Mhm.
while, but then it's up to you, right? Like, whether
Yeah.
that really
Yeah.
has legs on it. I'm assuming, is it fair to guess that it's probably a combination of just, I think, who you are plus but also importantly, what you've learned on how to conduct yourself in this industry?
I mean, I try to. I feel like certain different artists and things that you work with, their different personalities will lead to different reactions to things like, okay, like for instance, Dan Soder, that comedian like you're talking about, so funny, such a great guy. He had a radio show called The Bonfire that he was on, and he left it so he could just focus on stand up. All his contemporaries were starting to do theaters. He wanted to like get to that place in his career, and he's done it. And now his star is rising, and he's on a show called Billions, which is, I'm forgetting his name, Paul Giamatti's TV show. And that ended, and he didn't go after more acting. He loves stand up, so he's chosen to like focus on that. And his way of dealing with that is to like bring his friends along. Now that he's doing theaters, other people should see Brendan Saglow and these other comedians. So he's using his star to prop up people that know about more. He's using his opportunities that way. That isn't the case for a lot of people who like blow up. But I also think experiencing his biggest success in his 40s, had that happen at 21, maybe he wouldn't be that guy. You know what I mean? And it's also like one thing I've noticed from like working with a lot of people who then become famous, they're worried about keeping that fame. And so maybe they won't work with me, who's like a medium level producer as far as success. They'll want to go just work with Jack Antonoff from now on because he has a
Yeah.
proven track record. They don't want to like try and bring their people from their past along. So there's both things. Both things are totally understandable. I feel like every time I get cool opportunities, I want to bring Theon along. I want to bring Cold Sam on. I want to bring the other, to me, that's part of it is like, I love the idea of getting music that I like and comedians that I like in front of more people. Like, that's really cool to me.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen that in different pockets and different scenes, I guess maybe is the best term. Well, if we even studied a little bit of music history over the last 30, 40 years where, yeah, the people who keep bringing each other along to everything, the Adam Sandlers of the music business
So
who
cool.
just give their Rob Schneider friends a gig every time, whether they deserve it or not. But it's very cool, and I think it really creates something. Yeah. Okay, well, that there's another side to that part that you're talking about, because you've rubbed shoulders with so many different people and done a lot of different projects. And I've heard when I looked up, like, you've done a lot of collabs, like in just the general knowledge of how collabs work with people. And I think there's so much inspiration in collaboration too. I was even excited to see, and I shouldn't have been surprised because you've already talked about 604 Records, by the way, and Light Organ, which is kind of the imprint, like that, and out of Vancouver, and has like such a long history now and impact, especially of Vancouver-based artist, and so I shouldn't be surprised. Like, one of the collabs I saw on your list was Adeline, our friend Shauna Beasley, who was a guest of mine on season 1, and her and I've been very good friends for a very long time. So I thought that was really cool that you two have worked together, because she's such an incredible. It's crazy to me, like how good it is. Like, there's a handful, I've known a lot of artists. There's a handful that I would be so cliche as to be like, how do not more people know who this is? So I'm just curious about like how that impacts you. Like, I like to think of a good collab that it kind of leaves something with you. Like, you almost take a piece of the person or something from that instance. And that's different than, because I've talked to some country artists and how huge and common it is to just have writing sessions and scheduled, like they have a Calendly for writing sessions. And it's practice, right? It's discipline. And I think it's awesome.
It's keeping the paint wet.
Exactly. And that's a great expression. But I love also the more like impacting part of collaborations where you feel like it left you with something. I'm wondering, because you've had so many, are there ones you can name that stand out that you're like, that one sort of shaped me in how I continue to do things after working with that person?
Sure. It was interesting, like early on, Carly, for instance, she would have all the verses written in like a matter of 5 minutes. Like, it'd just be so quick. And I just never had seen that. Like, I came from the world of like, you make a little instrumental on the computer and loop it, and everybody sits there for an hour quietly and writes lyrics. And I hate writing that way now that I've seen it doesn't need to be that way. Like, Carly would come in with like an acoustic demo, and she'd be like, what do you think of this? And then she'd already have some ideas that hadn't really been fleshed out. We'd like flesh them out together and figure out what part is the chorus and whatever. So we would have songs in 15 minutes or something, at least something to work on, a title and some lyrics. So that was the first time I saw that. And then I didn't really see something that efficient until I started working with this band Theon, which are twin sisters. I produced most of their new album and co-wrote most of their new album. They have a song.
Okay, I got to pause you real quick.
Yeah.
Because I didn't put the two together. You've mentioned them a couple times.
Yeah.
And I just realized that because I told you I do this only a handful of times. I did it with your song back in 2021 or whatever.
Yeah.
I literally, in the last month, I heard on that station Theon, and I thought it was Beaches, but I was like, this isn't Beaches. This sounds more like. And then the DJ got on, this guy Garner in Edmonton, who I love, and he's like, man, that sounds to me like the Breeders. And I was literally speaking out loud in the car. That sounds like Cannonball kind of. And then so he went and played Breeders Cannonball, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I didn't put the two together. So I'm just real time having my like, holy shit moment. Yeah. Okay, I absolutely love. Fuck, dude, that is so good. Great work.
Thanks, dude. Brianne and I wrote Blow, like the starting of it, and then Alana came and put in her parts, made it even better. And they had never experienced Riot Girl music. So every session, I'd show them something like The Breeders or Hole or Babes in Toyland or whatever. And then we'd make a song. I showed them Yeah, Yeah, Yeahs. Like, I showed them Distillers, and they were like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then we would seriously in like 15 minutes have a song going. It's funny because Blow, Brianne wanted to work on a song we worked on before called Banshee. And I would be like, let's work on something new for 15 minutes. And then we wrote Blow. And it's because she got road rage on the way over to my apartment at the time was where we did that. What I was going to say is that they've been making music since they were like 8. They were busking as little kids. At like 10, they were like songwriting in Nashville at like 12. Like, they're the real deal. They work so hard. They're having a lot of success right now, and they totally deserve it. They're actually coming here in like 5 minutes so we can record something else we got to do. And
that's so awesome.
So they were like the next thing. I'm like, oh my God, like, and we've made so many albums together. Like, they have an album I think's really underrated that of course came out during the pandemic called Everyone's a Critic. It's so good. Like, I didn't write on it, I just produced it. It's amazing. They're such great players. And then the next person I was going to say is Charlie from Hotel Mira. I co-wrote most of their new album.
Oh, yeah.
And he is just so fearless with like, just like having you sit there while he comes up with things. He's just like so comfortable in that pressure, and he's just an idea machine. And he, like, the last album, which is called Pity Party, I co-wrote 9 songs on that, I think. And it always would just start with him coming over, and we just spend 15 minutes on an idea. And if it's not working, we'll just go get coffee and come back and try again. So easy. Like, we were writing like 2-3 songs a day. And then
wow.
That album, and then our bands toured together, and that was like the funnest month of my life. And then he was in town for like an acting thing last month. We wrote 4 new songs in 2 days, and like, it's just easy. So I'm so lucky to like be able to connect with these brilliant artists, and yeah, it's so fun. It's like, I love being their cheerleaders,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Like, that's exciting for me. I'm going to end up going back and listening to far more of Fiona now as well, and put some of those tracks. I build a playlist for this podcast.
Awesome.
Not just the artists who are on it, but just when they drop songs that people should be listening to and stuff.
That's so cool.
Which is going to be really cool. So yeah, all that's really cool. I absolutely love how connected you are to just a really cool group of people who are doing some really cool things right now. So tell me about where you're at with Fake Shark right now. So like you said at the start, talked about some of where you're at with shows and all that kind of stuff. But as far as where you're at with releasing music and what you're promoting and all of that, sort of, where are we at with Fake Shark right at this moment?
Okay, so we just released a song called Monster. Yeah. It's getting some nice radio play and streaming. Shout out to X in Calgary. They were the first ones to like fully add it to their playlist. Great bunch of guys. I really appreciate them. Sam and Logan and all those guys are so great. I want to thank them. Then the Zone in Victoria started playing it a lot. Kirsten, Paul, Jenny, they've always been so supportive. The Peak in Vancouver, they started playing it a lot, and that's Braden and Restless. Want to thank everyone for all the support.
Welcome back to the Peak. That's great.
Yeah. They've been excellent. Honestly, all the radio stations, so many radio stations in this country have been great. So Monster is like full on. I think it's number 21 in the country right now, which is exciting. So it's crazy. Right now I have Monster's 21, Fion's number 2 on alternative radio, I think. Hotel Mira is number 3, I think, and then this band Cold Fame that I co-wrote and produced their new single Jawbreaker, I think is number 14. So it's like having a nice chart moment for all the things I've been working on. Well, shit, dude,
you are the Jack Antonoff of Canada at the moment, then, and alt radio. No bullshit, dude. Like that, like the facts talk, dude. Like that's pretty fantastic. So is Monster part of like a run of singles and all that kind of a thing, or what's the plan? Is there more tour?
Like we're gonna actually get on the phone with our American agent on Friday and like figure out what this next year looks like, because it's kind of what we're focusing on. We have an album that's gonna come out in October, I think. We're actually we just announced a new single with Fion actually called Tired of You, and it comes out September 12th. And then
Great.
that the album will come out, and there's even more guests on that. One of my favorite rappers is Cool Keith. He's on the album. Yeah, I'm excited. And I worked really hard on this album, and it didn't always come easy because of all the touring and stuff I was doing, and I feel like I earned it with this one, you know?
That's awesome. I absolutely love hearing that. Like, yeah, so September 12th, the album, all that kind of stuff. You said at the start, though, you've done a lot of Canada, so we might not see you in Canada necessarily for a while, or
We'll definitely do some dates. Like, you know, we just played Juno Fest, but we try not to play Vancouver too often, or else I just feel like, you know,
yeah,
you
it's
wear
the
out
old-
you wear out
you
your
wear out
friends
your
and family.
hometown. Yeah.
And your amazing fans. So yeah, we're definitely gonna do some Canada, but a lot more America, just because that seems
Cool.
to be the opportunities that we're getting right now. And we got
man.
these expensive work visas we got to use. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, that's expensive and yeah, takes so much effort and hoops to
Yeah.
jump through.
Yeah.
Well, I love to see it. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Again, going back to the beginning, so appreciative
Of course.
how patient you were and coming back and having a great conversation with me. And it's exciting. I love learning in real time all these things that you do and connecting all of these little networks and people. I think it's one of the coolest things about the music business, period. I think it's pretty cool. And I've always tout that I think the Canadian music scene is pretty incredible for that. I know Vancouver scene is incredible, but there's connections right across the country. And even you being able to know and shout out the stations and who they are. You didn't know it, but I alluded before that I think you must be a pretty cool guy in the
Thanks,
industry.
buddy.
And the fact that you could just like shout out the names of the people, not just the stations, that's a small little thing, but that's a really cool characteristic. And if anybody listens who's up and coming in a band, I think they have a lot that they could learn just from hearing what you say and how you conduct yourself. So thanks for giving of your time and sharing some thoughts and ideas and stories. And I wish you all the best with the single and the new record, and hope to bump in real life at some point and catch a gig as soon as I can. So,
Please do, anytime.
Okay. Thanks, Kevvy. Appreciate you. All the best.
Hey, I'm Alexi. Stick around for Post Fame with me and my dad.
That means we're on.
Yep.
We're broadcasting live from the Honda Fit.
From the Honda Fit in the garage.
In the garage of our place,
Yeah.
address unknown.
Got kicked out.
We got kicked out of the
knows.
house.
Yeah.
Somebody needed to hog the internet, and it wasn't us this time.
Yeah.
So we're in the car doing Post Fame for episode 22, Fake Shark, Kevvy. Yeah, so, the garage interior light just went off.
That's
So
awesome.
we're like,
That's very nice for us.
if somebody opens the door of the garage, they're going to be very surprised and wonder
It's
what's
gonna be
going on.
really awkward.
And it's funny how I was talking so quietly there, I just realized, as if I'm like trying to do something secretly.
Yeah, but you're not.
I don't need to worry about it. Like nobody else is hearing any of this, except us.
Okay.
And we're just being weird in the garage for a minute.
Yep.
But anyhow, so we were just having coffee and we were just talking because I was working on the episode art and you were doing other stuff. And I was talking about the episode and naming it,
Yeah.
but talking about things that kind of stood out. And it was funny because you sort of said, well, there's that whole segment about that I got wrong about whether the two bands were connected, because he started out as Fake Shark Real Zombie, which had, quite a bit of success and toured all over, but it was a distinctly different sound.
Yeah.
But which is not the same as the version of Fake Shark that he's in right now, that has had a really good run for like a long time, like 10 years pretty much now. So that is one little interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And since then, and this happens a lot on the podcast, it's weird to look at you right in the face while we're talking, but I look at their Instagrams and stuff. That sounds so dumb. Now their feed comes through my feed more often, and I notice all the things. And he posted one of his biggest flexes was Charlie XCX commenting on a MySpace thing about a song that she loved from Fake Shark Real Zombie
That's kind of
on
funny.
MySpace back in the earlier 2000s,
That's so
right?
funny.
So
I thought you were gonna bring up the Carly Rae Jepsen thing. 'Cause that was like
Well,
my
that was
number
already
one jam when I was younger.
it was yours. That is very true. Like that was your jam, but that was like that's so he didn't write that, or he didn't write on that
No,
song.
that was just
But it should, like, because it's Canadian, I feel like I still had a tendency to undersell, even in my own mind, like how big.
that song was.
Well, I mean, if I met anybody else who said I wrote with, who's got like,
Katy Perry.
I was writing with Katy Perry before she like
blew up.
and with the I Kissed a Girl
Anyone would
song.
be like, whoa.
Do you know what I mean? And you'd be
Yes.
like, holy crap, you were her songwriting partner
Right?
before that? Like, yeah, like Call Me Maybe is on a scale of like
Massive.
earworm across the
Yeah.
globe. Yeah. Anyhow, and all of that didn't hit me until after the conversation, because there were so many things in that conversation that he moved through that I was like, really? Like, you're producing the comedy specials for Nate
Right?
Bargatze? Like,
It's like oh my god, I'm gonna blank on her name. But your friend who does the stuff for like The Voice and all that.
like Tamara working
Tamara
on The
Beauty,
Voice.
yeah.
And,
And
the
then
voice
it's just
coach.
like, oh, the
Yeah.
person I'm talking to actually has like personal relationship with like really impactful musicians.
Yeah.
Like really big scale musicians.
Yeah, exactly. And
And it just makes
yeah.
them seem so much cooler. Like you're just like, oh, like I talk to you as if you were like a friend, but like you're legit.
Yeah, you sort of expect some, I don't know. It's like you expect some like transferable aura to come through if you meet those people, but it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, and there were a lot of things that he talked about that he had done over time. Like he had these opportunities to go back and remix like some Trent Reznor music, which is like incredible opportunities.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I will say the one thing that really stood out to me, besides the fact that he had done all this kind of stuff, which I think is really cool and is really at the core of why I wanted to meet people and talk this way on the podcast, was on the surface, when you just hear a song, you just become familiar with the band, there's so much story that you don't realize.
Yeah, you don't even know.
And his story of like, so we can talk about these incredibly cool things like, his songwriting partnership with Carly Rae Jepsen or
All the
these
things.
other little things. But, him telling the story of like, yeah, I was like, we'd go to parties and I would go and look for the crumbs in the bowl because he had
Yeah,
he had
'cause he had
nothing else
nothing
to
to
eat.
eat,
He had no money, and the band looked like they were doing well, getting toured through, Southeast Asia, but they had no money and they were borrowing gear for every show, and he got deathly ill, and then at the exact same time, all of a sudden they sign a deal in Japan and they get flown to Japan,
Which
and,
is
and they're a great
crazy.
big hit and they're
Yeah.
playing great. Like,
It's just like the amount of like fluctuation in like a music artist's career, and not an artist, just like in people, like your whole podcast is like the realm of like people involved in the music scene.
yeah,
It's just crazy, like the amount of like fluctuation in their career, and like also like the rate of that fluctuation, like how fast that can change for someone.
yeah. I mean, I told you I was listening to the podcast interview with Dominic Fike this morning.
Yes, yeah.
And that he had a difficult upbringing. He had just in his own town started like doing raps and doing like appearances on a lot
Yeah.
of people's music. And then personal life issues, he ended up being thrown in jail for a little while.
Mhm.
And while he's in jail, his SoundCloud stuff erupts.
Really?
And there's a bidding war when he gets out on his music with like the top 4
That's crazy.
record companies, and he's meeting with the president of Sony.
It's insane.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, like that changed.
And they come out
overnight.
and they're like, what's the number? And then they're like, 4 million, and that's the deal he signs. Anyhow, yeah, like, so that trajectory can be so ridiculous. And I'm sure we're going to talk to people who maybe hit certain heights and then hit
certain lows.
too.
Yeah.
And anyhow, I think that was probably one of the things that really hit me about the conversation. Really great guy. Really great guy.
Do you want to hear my question? Or
Yeah, I
do you
want to
wanna-
hear your question.
Okay.
You thought I was just going to skip it
Well, I was
altogether?
like, maybe we're like, no, this is too interesting. I don't know. You hate me. I wrote it 2 ways because I was okay. I'll reiterate it. It's back to the point of kind of like the reinvention and like the fact that he was in Fake Shark, Real Zombie.
Yep.
And then new band.
Yep.
New sound. New vibe, honestly. And then uses Fake Shark still. And like not about the nitpick of the name itself, but I was wondering because like the whole time he was talking about that and just kind of like a reinvention and like different sound, but you know, everyone who's listening or like a lot of people who are listening have that kind of like connotation still of like what you once were.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if like for you interviewing him, like you've done like the band to solo artist thing, and like I feel like a lot of people who are listening to your like solo music knew you from your band, or like, you know, that connotation was there, and I was like, oh, like did anything he say kind of like resonate with you, or like did you pick up on any like similarities, or you know, like did anything he say just be like, oh, like I kind of like you felt that like differently because like you have, I think, kind of a almost like rare personal experience of like going from one thing to the next and having those things be quite different and not just like upgrades, you know, like it was a reinvention.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the fact that the gap for me personally between the two happening was so wide that if I had tried to record and release a solo record within a year or two after the band,
Mm-hmm.
I would have felt probably way more pressure to still have more touch points to what the band was.
Yeah.
For sure. So I think I got released from that
And
that
like
way.
there was like an allowance for growth.
It was
in that
interesting how he had said, like he did admit that like maybe that wasn't a great idea.
Time. Yeah.
Like the name thing.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, like that's a little different than like going band and going solo, because there's a lot of examples out there where people
Do that.
expect, like, I mean, we just talked to Peter Dreams, right? Who,
Yeah.
you know, very like established his entire identity inside of July Talk. And this effort is nothing like July Talk.
Yeah. It's completely different.
And it's interesting to me how the business of it goes about it differently. Like he can't go and run through all of the same connections and sources, and the places that would highly promote July Talk aren't going to promote him. And if you try, you might run into trouble.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, like the experience though, like the way he was talking about trying to reestablish, you know, a sound and try to reestablish himself
As like a new thing.
as a new thing. I guess I didn't feel that exactly the same way in my experience. I was trying to think of how to still actually tap in to the band's audience, because I felt like I really needed a lot of help to get that machine running again. It didn't help that it was right before the pandemic, but
Seriously.
but yeah, I mean, some of those things are definitely similar, but I very much empathize with somebody who's moving from one long-term successful thing to another. Especially there's little nuances. Like for him, the nuance is that was kind of a band that came out of his youth, like high school. Like that, like when you're doing something through your 20s, you probably think that this is it and this is all or nothing. Because your 20s typically is really hard to see past your 30s. Like you just can't imagine life past your 20s.
I can't agree because I just turned 20. But I'll take your word for it.
But it's significantly different when you cross over into your 30s and then you start to feel like time slows, you know, in some ways, and you just sort of see things a bit wider. But I think that with bands in particular, like when your band out of high school, when your band young takes off, you don't think there can be anything else.
Right.
And when that's over, you're probably thinking it's over.
Yeah.
Right? So that can be a really hard thing. And I think if you look at how he did it really well. Like he's done it really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of thought as much as that. But you never know. I was like, oh, maybe he said something and you were just like, dang, I feel that in my heart and my soul. Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap it up in the car and go inside.
Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes it freaks the dog out if people are in the garage.
True.
She could be losing her
Hearing
mind in there.
voices.
Yeah, hearing voices. But okay, well, we'll see how car post fame
Car post
turns
fame.
out.
If it's
and,
good, we might have to run it back. Better than relying on the internet.
we don't have much time to run it back. That's the thing. But
No,
we'll
like
see.
run it back is in like, here, I'll teach you some slang really quick.
no,
Run
I
it-
know. I thought
run
I
it back-
knew what run it back
No.
meant.
Okay, in different context. Run it
I
back
thought
isn't
run
like,
back was like a do over.
it could, but not
Or is
as
it
much
just a do
anymore.
it again?
It's like, yeah, do it again. Like if it's good, like we run it back, like we choose to do this version of it again.
Oh,
Like we run it back. Like
yeah,
next time we record, we do it in the
Okay.
car.
Okay, I see what you meant.
It is like a repeat, but like repeat in the future.
A repeat in the future. Like, let's do this again.
Yeah. Like some like guys, they like gross ones, not
Well,
ones I hang out with.
Peter Dream said to me at the end, is like, we
should run
can
this
even
back.
we can run this back.
Yeah, that's what like a lot of dudes say when they want to hang out with people again. They're like, yo, like we gotta run this back.
Darn it.
Instead of just being like, hey, I had a good time.
Well, I've heard it a lot, and
And now you know.
I think I was listening to people and interpreting it that way. But when you said it right now, it just immediately translated as like, we're going to have a
We're
do-over.
gonna have to do it again. No, that's
Okay.
kind of negative, man.
Okay. I'll be fine. I'm up on it, down with it. Whatever
Down
you
with
wanna call
Up on it is crazy.
Whatever you want to call
Get
it.
out of here, man.
Okay, we're good. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.